Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Automation today with something a little bit different. I am going to be trying to build perhaps the most vaguely sensible car I've ever done on this game. You see, we've built plenty of crazy race cars, super touring cars, Group B rally car, and the classic Le Mans cars, and the crazy front-wheel drive supercar, 1,000 horsepower monster. However, today's challenge, I think it came from the comments in the last video I saw, is to build a cheap, small 4x4 utility vehicle. Think kind of Lada Niva, that sort of style vehicle. I'm going for the time frame, sort of late 80s, early 90s as the era to be building a car. It's going to be basic. It's going to hopefully be quite good off-road, very cheap, not exactly going to set the world alight in terms of power. No, it's not going to have 1,000 horsepower. I have decided the body that we're going to be working with is this little micro van. We're not going for a giant pickup truck because, again, I want it to be a small utility vehicle, not just a humongous pickup. And yeah, again, it's something we've not really worked on before here. So here we go. Panel material. Well, we're going for cheap, of course. You know, we're not going to go for fiberglass and aluminium stuff, but it does need to be a tough, sort of rugged vehicle. So corrosion-resistant steel seems like a good idea to me. Chassis, that's going to be a ladder chassis. Basic, cheap. Chassis material, though, again, I think I might stick with a corrosion-resistant steel. Makes sense, really, for this kind of vehicle. We're going to have a front longitudinal. It's going to be an all-wheel drive vehicle. Suspension, we want off-road stats to be as high as possible. Load capacity as well, of course, will be helpful, but this is kind of more off-roady than pickup truck. So solid axle coil at the front, and rear is going to be the same because we don't need to worry about sportiness in this one. It's weird for me to go for other stats other than sportiness / drivability. That's the normal go-to. Oopsie. The normal go-to stats for me. However, God, you can have a convertible version. That's not a pretty car. Not sure why you would ever want that. We can go. There are two different types of van. Okay, so you can have big old van, or you can have little van. I think we're going to go with little van. Can we make the front? Do we want the front a little bit flat? Oh, we have to do that in paint, don't we? Of course, this is a FailRace industry vehicle. Must be orange. Do we want to have... I don't actually know if that's going to make any difference at all in terms of streamlining, but you know what? I don't even know why. It doesn't really matter. Streamline, like top speed. I guess fuel efficiency might come in a little bit to this if we can try and make it vaguely sensible in terms of mile a gallon. It's not likely to be that sensible, let's be honest here. Cool, okay. There we go. That will work. Oh, do I want that sort of front, or do I want I'm not actually sure what sort. Ooh, you can do some weird things with the front of the car. I don't know whether I want a sort of very... Oh, game. Come on, game. Thank you. I'm having a few issues. I don't know whether it's the last update for this game has done some weird things to it, but sort of little micro stutters going on, and I had to have a couple of crashes as well. I'm hoping we're not going to crash this time around. Yeah, so I apologise for that. If anyone knows how to fix the game doing that, please do let me know. It would be much appreciated if it is something I've done wrong at my end. Right. Vehicle, headlights, and so on that we need to worry about. We don't really want to go for, you know, this kind of stuff. These kind of sort of sleek, curvy headlights, not really going to work on a car like this one. I think we're going to go for just some nice rectangular, or just about rectangular headlights here. They can sit on the front, in there maybe. Can we get them any bigger? Okay, I just don't want them to sort of clip through stuff weirdly, but just to sit neatly on the front of the vehicle. It looks a little bit, looks a little bit dopey, I'll be honest. Not actually sure I want that front bit. Can we get the front bit? There we go. I kind of think I might want the front bit to be squarer. Otherwise, it looks a little bit like an angry... Well, it kind of looks a little bit like the... I've got to remember which way around, Pacer, the AMC Pacer. The Pacer and the Gremlin, I always get confused. I think the Gremlin name would suit the Pacer better, I feel. But yeah, I always get those two mixed up. That's okay. Yeah, that looks better. didn't look right. Didn't look right the other way around. Okay, grills. Now, what do we do with this one? Shall we go for just a nice simple grill down here? Ooh. Okay, maybe cover up the big hole. Oh. And now, I know we needed cooling. I'm not sure we want a giant hole into the engine bay. Maybe let's not go for that grill down there. Maybe let's go for, go away, a grill of some description up here. It's not going to be that big, but we'll go for one of these sort of rectangular grills up here. It still has a little bit of a hole. I don't know what's going on with this car. It's a little bit strange. And then maybe another sort of grill down here. Okay, we can't have the grill particularly wide at the bottom for this vehicle. I wasn't actually initially intending on going for this, well, my kind of, the usual, the FailRace Industries default sort of double grill thing down here. Oh, actually, I wonder what about if we were to get rid of that and kind of just have these bits at the bottom. Like that. Ooh, okay. Quite like that. You know what? We're going to go for that style at the front. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not displeased with the front of the car. And then shall we get some... Oh, we get some indicators. We'll stick the little indicator bits on the side somewhere, I guess, in there. And then we'll get some door handles, important for getting in and out of the car. So some cheap plastic tacky door handles. Again, to be fair, not that any the fixtures actually make a difference to the car value, car price and so on at the moment. Fuel filler cap. Let's get a square one of those in there. We need some wing mirrors, of course. What looks sort of cheap and simple, and definitely not these ones down here. These kind of look like they're too classic a vehicle. I think this just looks like a basic sort of wing mirror. It looks a little bit tiny, so we'll go and give that a bit of a size increase. There you go. Might be able to see behind you now. Back of the car. What are we going to do with tail lights? I'm not actually sure on this. Tail lights. That's what we want. I kind of want some... I really need to download a mod for sort of tower tail lights rather than circle or rectangular. What do these look like? Am I going to... Yeah, I guess. Sure. I think that's okay. I mean, the back of this car is kind of a little bit uninspiring. It's quite difficult to do too much with it. I'm not actually really sure if I can do very much. I don't think I really want to do very much in terms of sort of grills and bumpers down at the back here. There's not really anything to sort of place stuff. We're not going for a mighty wing. I mean, it's... Hold on, let's get the exhaust. Let's get the exhaust tip on while I think about it. People were saying as well that you can now have the exhaust... So, like, normally, you used to always have the exhaust kind of just sort of sticking out of the bumper. You can actually now have the exhaust so that it sort of sits down lower underneath the car, like so, for example, which is quite nice. A little bit fiddly sometimes to place it quite where you want it to, or apparently move it once it's been... Come on. Yeah, a little bit fiddly at times, place it perhaps quite where you want it to. Sort of trying to judge where everything is in the sort of 3D space, perhaps. But there we go. So now we've got the exhaust poking out the back. Yeah, do we want to go? I mean, we could have a mighty wing on it. Oh, I didn't expect that to actually fit. I had so many problems getting that. Oh, look at the size of that. That is a wing and a half right there. That's more of a roof rack than a wing, quite frankly. Have had problems with trying to get this to fit. I'm really amazed that fits on this. I've had so many issues trying to get the mighty wing to fit on actual proper cars, and now when we go to stick them on... When we go to do dumb stuff, it actually works really well on this car. Oh, this is a big wing. There we go. Kind of looks like a coat hanger. No. What other wings could we put on it? What about you? Which wing is... It's perfect. Perfect. What more could you want? Whoa, hello. We've slightly ended up in the lights fittings. Oh. I've done bad things. You know how I said we were going to be sensible? Stuff. It's not happened. Sensible has got out the window when I realised we could get a mighty wing on it. Sort of. I want to have... Yes, I definitely want to have the side bits going on here. Definitely want to have the side bits. Like that. Perfect. Can we see you any further back? That's as far back as it goes. Yes! It is a totally practical FailRace Industries vehicle. I mean, it's almost mandatory now to have mighty wings on FailRace Industry vehicles, so... it's staying. No, I'm not going to have a 1,000 horsepower engine in this. We've got to be silly somehow, and Mighty Wing seems like a good option. Right, number plate. Number plate. Do we have it on the front, or do we have it lower down? I think we'll have it on this sort of bumper bar over there. I think that makes sense. Yeah, and then we'll stick something at the back. It just gives it a little bit of detail at the back. I don't really know what else to do with this car particularly. I guess we have a bigger number plate going on back here. Yeah, I mean, it's not the most inspiring vehicle at the back, but I say that. I mean, look at the wing. Every attention will be on the wing, not on anything else with this utility van. So there we go. It's ready. Totally ready to move on to the engine. Now, as I said, we're not going crazy with this engine. I'm not putting in a 3-litre turbocharged V6 or 7-litre. I'm not going to get a 7-litre V8 in this. It's tiny, and I would imagine at least that the engine bay is tiny. How big an engine could we, if we wanted to put a V8 in it? How big could we get a V8? Well, apparently we can get like a 5-litre V8 in it. Well, we can fit a 5-litre V8. We're not going to. We are going for an inline 4. It's going to be cheap, it's going to be basic, it is going to be 4x4. Shall we go? Come on, game. Well, the game might be having a few issues with. I think it's the majestic van. That's the problem with the engine. Right. So in fact, there is the majestic van over there. You can just see the wing. That's the first thing you notice about. Engine. I'm thinking we go for something like a Should we go for a 2.8 litre? Sure, why not? A 2.8 litre inline 4. Everything's going to be cast iron. Maybe not quite push rod. I'm thinking maybe we go for direct acting overhead cam. In fact, direct acting overhead cam is much better on friction, better on RPMs, and less engineering time than the other option. So sure, you know what? Direct acting overhead cam, 2 valves in there. Definitely not going to have an aluminium head. Definitely not going to have variable valve lift. Not that I could anyway. I think we're this. Actually, they might be able to have been an 87. It might be different. Oh, come on, Gabe. Different sort of engine, cylinder heads, and so on. Anyway, crank cast. Con rods going to be cast as well. Cheap. Don't need to worry about maximum torque and maximum RPM because we're not going to be producing very much of it. Compression, cam profile, we'll come back to all of that later. Not going to be turbocharged here whatsoever. You know what? We're going to carburate it. I think we're going to go for a carburetor rather than a injection. Again, easier to, what would it be, rugged, easy to repair, carburetor, simpler things to fix than fuel injection. I guess maybe a mechanical fuel injection might be okay. Go for sort of a single mechanical fuel. Yeah, you know what? Shall we go for a slightly... I was going to build a carburetor engine, but, I mean, I guess... Maybe we'll stick with go stick with carburetor. I don't want a 4-barrel race carburetor on it. I mean, it's tempting and all, but... Maybe we go for... Do we go for a 2-barrel, or do we go for... Well, maybe go for twin single-barrel carburetors? Sure. You know what? We're not going for a race. We don't want a race bloody intake on this. We're going to go for regular fuel on this. We'll go for regular... Yeah, we'll go for unleaded fuel rather than going for the... regular leaded and so on. We'll try and go for a bit better than the low-quality fuel. And... that will do there. So power-wise, this was reckoning the twin carburetors here could potentially get up to 230 horsepower before the carburetors will restrict us in terms of power. For exhausts, perhaps we'll go for the short cast rather than cast log. Yeah, we'll go for something a little bit better than that exhaust diameter. We'll faff around with that later on. Would it have a carburetor? Carburetor. Would it have a catalytic converter? Probably not. So we're not going to worry about that, but we will have silencers on it. And there we go. Right, so first of all, compression is way too high. Let's drop that down a little bit so that it doesn't blow itself to bits. And that's actually not too shabby in terms of... power. I mean... 131 horsepower, okay, compared to the 1,000 horsepower cars that I have built before, that's not much, but for what we are doing here, it's actually not too bad. One thing I do want to do is, I know this is going to restrict our power a little bit, but we want to have maximum torque quite readily available here. So 148 pound-foot of torque at about 2,500 RPM is not too bad going on all of this. What have we got over? How far can... it actually does rev up to... It'll start having valve issues at 6,000 RPM. We don't need to worry too much about high RPM values. That starts having some knocking issues. So we will go... Can we do anything with this? I mean, this is just go. I mean, it's giving us a not really much gain fuel mixture. I mean, I don't want to go. I can just chuck more fuel in, of course. Come on, game. There we go. I can chuck more fuel in, but we have also got to bear in mind I do still want it to be vaguely economical. Kind of want 150. Well, for a nice round figure of, I say vaguely economical. Nothing I ever build is going to be economical, but we kind of want it to be vaguely, yeah, sensible in terms of... okay, no, that's actually pretty good. Sensible in terms of miles per gallon, etc. 132 horsepower, 153 torque, if the game stops bloody stuttering. Yeah, I'm okay with... Oh, we didn't actually see what we need to do with exhaust. Can we do anything with this? No, I mean, it's it's not exactly that powerful to begin with, so... But sure, you know what, we'll go for a couple less horsepower, but a little bit earlier torque. Yeah, about 2,000 RPM, we're at maximum torque. Not too shabby, not too shabby. And shall we go and now see... Let's hear the amazing, uninspiring four-cylinder. I mean, it's an engine. That is about all I can say for it. I'm afraid. It is, though, very much an engine. Okay. That'll do. That will do. I mean, okay, it's not... That 130 horsepower out of a 2.8 litre inline 4 is not exactly the greatest ever power return, but it's hardly like we've got massively high-tech stuff going on here, so it will do. Shall we... Now let's sort out the gearbox and all of the other stuff. So, longitudinal, four-wheel drive. That's what this thing is all about. We're hoping to have it as a decent off-roader, so naturally we've got the four-wheel drive. We're going to have a manual gearbox, of course. We're going to go for a 5-speed. It reckons it can do 115 miles an hour. It could probably do 150 if it wasn't for the wing on the back of the vehicle. So, here we go, 115. We are off-roading, so we're going to want the manual locker here. Also, relatively cheap, the manual locker, so that's good. Tyres, we are going to want radial. We've got some nice chunky off-road tyres. Not really sure about what size we're going to go for just yet. It'll probably depend on what makes the tyres explode and what we need to get away with to stop the tyres exploding, basically. I think steel's best for off-road. Yeah, the strongest for off-roading there, so that is what we will have. In terms of brakes, well, you know, we're going to... Oh, okay, apparently drum brakes are better off-road than discs. Didn't actually know that. We are going to want some decent brakes on this. Again, while it isn't a massively fast vehicle, you know, we are still going to want to get the damn thing stopped. So, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. About the braking performance, perhaps, of this. But we'll see how it goes. It's not going to be going very quick, so it doesn't matter. Are those tyres? Yeah, they are off-road tyres. Off-road skid tray, of course, protecting the underside of the car. Cooling airflow, doesn't really need that much. The engine's pretty garbage. Brake airflow, yeah, let's get some cooling going on in there. Seats, we can only have seats at the front. I guess we can get 3 seats in there. Sure, why not? Interior, it's going to be standard. Not going to be massively exciting. And again, we're going to have standard entertainment going on here. It's a cheap and cheerful off-roader. That's all there is. Now, we do want some drivability in the vehicle. I think we'll go hydraulic power steering. Having no ABS is cheaper, so we go for none. We have a basic 70s safety. Now, when it comes to springs, when it comes to suspension, what is best? Well, technically... Hydro pneumatic suspension is best off-road, but it is also 630 monies, whereas standard is 13 monies. That's quite expensive for a budget off-roader, so we're not going to go for that. I guess we're just going to go for standard springs. I mean, they're not great for off-road, but they are good for reliability, and they are good for being really cheap. So there we go. Are any of these good for off-road? No, is the answer there. We'll go for gas monotube a little bit better on here. Now, something's broken on this, causing issues. I say causing issues, we'll figure that out later. Sway bars passive, off-road sort of setup for the vehicle. We can have quite a lot of ride height going on. Now this is the fun and games, is try to figure out why the vehicle is not registering. It means that there is something very, very broken with our car. So the front brake force is low. Okay, wheel spin is reducing the car's drivability. The rear tyres are too wide. The brakes show slight fade. Car's roll angle is high. Stiffen the sway bars. So if we go and up these, it should... Well, I mean, the drivability is fairly solid on this car. Oh, no, maybe not even stiffen that one. Drivability is like 99%, which isn't too bad. His sportiness isn't terrible. Isn't too terrible. Okay, the front brake force is low. What can we do here? I guess stick up the front brake. No, that's rear brakes. Rear brake force is very high compared to grip. Oh, come on, game. Stop doing this, you annoying thing. Maybe we will have to go for some discs at the front to try and sort out that problem. The rear brake force is very high. We can turn down that a little bit. The rear brake force is still very high, really? Okay, apparently that's sorted that problem. The car's handling tends towards understeer. The car's roll angle is high. Wheel spin. Okay, we can maybe sort out the fade, the brake fade a little bit in this. Where will it be? In aerodynamics, won't it? Perhaps. Brake airflow. Will that help deal with the... There we go. The rear tyres are very wide. Wheels. Okay, so if we stick this down, I mean... there we go, 170, maybe we'll go 170 all round. Okay, car's handling is still... that looks very high, I'm thinking perhaps we go and lower the ride height a smidge, actually make it vaguely... Oh no, okay, so that does... It does want it to be that sort of ground clearance for off-road. Fair enough. I think that's going to be a little bit too high. And I'm not quite sure what it is in here, like why it's still competitiveness 0. I've had this problem a few times when I've been building cars. It's very difficult. Okay, we can't actually do anything with... Oh, game, come on. I can't actually change the settings here. I have done a couple of practice sort of tests building these sort of cars, and there are times when it just does this, and I can't figure out what it's wrong. Like why it's not happy with me in these sort of areas. We can go to it probably means that it doesn't meet, like maybe it doesn't meet what's the minimum safety detail stats on this vehicle? Right, so the safety... maybe the seats are the problem. Maybe it doesn't like... That's what the problem... I knew there'd be something. Like when it does that, there's always something that means it's not meeting the requirements for that area, perhaps. And it wasn't safe enough, so it doesn't like having the 3 seats at the front. That's what we wanted to see. Actually, this is more competitive and more suitable to this category than I've ever built any vehicle ever. It is, in fact, when we put it in the off-road, so the off-road section, durable off-road vehicle, what we went for, this miles a gallon beats the kind of best off-road competitor. It isn't quite as prestigious or safe, however, it is better in every other category. It's better drivability, better comfort, better utility value, much better off-road value. It's lighter. They don't have a price for stuff we're competing against. Yeah, it's actually done a thing. It's worked. It's not bad as a heavy utility. I'm not quite sure I would categorise that as a heavy utility vehicle. It's a bit too little for for that. However, yeah, it does pretty well. So if we go into market, so in Fruinia, I've never ever had stuff over this area selected before because I've never built stuff for this kind of things. It's definitely not off-road premium, that is fair enough. It's, off-road budget, it's not bad at off-road utility, heavy utility. It can kind of do delivery stuff as well. In Gasmia, it is also off-road, very, very competitive off-road budget section, which is what we would, what we were aiming for with the vehicle. And Arcana, it is perfect in the off-road category and heavy utility category. It doesn't come into the budget category. I wonder if it's too expensive. No, can't imagine it be. In fact, In Arcadia, it's 58%, I don't know, 58% or something. 58 competitiveness as a muscle car. And as a track premium vehicle, they must not have very good cars here. If this is counting as a track car, I don't want to know what the rest of their vehicles are like. Right, okay, I figured out, yeah, it basically wasn't safe enough. That was the thing that I was missing on the car. It was actually drivable and so on. So there we go. Right, go comparative stats. I'm not comparing it to anything. Off-road is pretty good. I mean, stability, perhaps not great, but it might be a little bit high in that sort of thing for the off-roaders. And sportiness, it isn't great. The circle test is very poor. I think circle test means does it fall over when you drive around in a circle. So it does kind of do that a little bit. It's a FailRace Industries car. It's expected to. Jeez, it's 0 to 60 in under 10 seconds. That's not terrible. I mean, it's slow, but it's not terrible. How fast does the dreary box go around the Top Gear test track? Let's go and speed that one up, because it's going to take it all day. Well, I say it's going to take it all day. It's going to take it a while to get around the track. I mean, if this can do it under 1 minute 40 or something, I guess that would be relatively reasonable for the wobble wagon here. It's not going to do it in under 140. Oh, it might just about... Oh, 141.9. It's not the fastest, but again, it wasn't built for it. It wasn't built for it. It was built to be a off-road sort of budget utility vehicle, and I would say it's not bad for that. As far as FailRace Industries go, that is pretty decent. And well, it's not the engine that's got the silliness factor. It has a mighty wing to make up for it. So there we go. That's what happens when I try to build a vaguely sensible off-road utility vehicle. Oh, actually, well, just before we finish off, can we do something about these pathetic tyres in here? Will that look a little bit... that's a little bit better. It's still slightly tending to understeer, but it now looks slightly better with that ridiculous front lines. It's off-road budget. It's perfect. It is. In fact, it's the most competitiveness I've ever got out of a vehicle, and it's building this thing. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.